and hopefully on stage. Hello, everybody.
Yes.
Uh, Hi, Mark.
Hi,
welcome, welcome again. It's so great
hi
to
Tinka. Hi, Wagwan.
Wagwan. I hope I did totally. But yes, I am. Yeah, we were
Yes.
actually talking. Mark and I were talking before, and we are talking about my stage name of Tinka, which is a nickname I got from a former colleague. Yeah, we can start using it if it's easier. Um, it's still me though. I still ask a lot of questions, as you all know. So I guess that's the reason for the nickname. But it's great to see you, Mark, and everybody else in a new year.
Thank you. Thank you.
2022 was a great year from us here at the PMO Leader. There were so many activities, webinars and podcasts and articles, and from a Books and Beyond club, we had a cool lineup of webinars and guests and book launches. So hopefully all those recordings are with you, and we love that you contribute and you keep on attending to these series, and basically that's pretty much what allows us to keep on moving. And 2023 we have a great lineup, a schedule of guests and episodes. We're pretty much booked for the full year, which is amazing. It's amazing progress. This means that the community is really benefiting from these discussions, and there's nothing that gives us more excitement than that. So we welcome your feedback. Anything that you feel you want us to do, just let us know. You know our contacts. You can find us easily, and just let us know, and we'll make it work. But yeah, today we have Mark with us, who well he's our very own from the bosom of the PMO Leader squad. And you'll probably know Mark. He's also co-host of another cool webinar series, Digital Transformations. But Mark is also an ambassador from the PMO Leader, and he's much more than that. And he's coming all the way from Jamaica, and right now is actually Trinidad. But regardless, the background behind him, I think, is a good proof of the environment that he's project managing in, which I think some of us can only dream of. uh, so, Mark, thank you for coming today. It's a great way to start 2023.
Definitely, definitely. The pleasure is mine, Tinka. The pleasure is mine. And I just want to say Happy New Year to everyone. I wish you all the best in 2023 and beyond.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Well, same to you, and same to everybody else. New year, new expectations, but also new surprises, new challenges. So it can always be exciting. We want to start, though, this episode with a bit of reflection over 2022, because again, the PMO Leader did so many exciting and cool things. I think it's worthwhile taking a few minutes and just looking back. And the highlight of 2022, I think, for everybody, was that the global conference that took place in October, which, quoting Mark, was a trip around the world in 18 hours. And it was really as such. Both of us, we were part of the organizing team, and it was a unique experience for us, but also for the attendees, and I think for the project management profession in general. So stay tuned. By the way, stay tuned for 2023, because that conference is going to be a repeat event. We'll follow up with more details on that on the PMO, through the PMO channel. But going back to 2022, um, that conference was indeed a proof of the fact that people really can come together as a team and do amazing things without having that expectation of getting something in return. And after the conference, Mark did a very cool thing. He wanted to express his experience as an organizer, and he put it in words. And he put together an article alongside a fellow compatriot, I think, Zoya,
Yes, yes, yes.
who did the same, but from an attendee point of view. So she attended the conference, and you two, you didn't know each other, right? Until that conference. It just
Yes, yes, that's exactly.
so that was pretty cool. I mean, by the way, I'll put the link to the article. It's on LinkedIn. I'll put it in the chat for everybody who's interested. It's a really cool article. It's not long, but it has some very interesting key messages. And if I may just quote one, which I think is, I guess, the conclusion of what a conference like this can really bring to us, is that you said there is great value in volunteering and positioning yourself in the right places at the right time to network with like minded individuals. I really
Definitely.
love this. And I think it's so true. Um, so I don't know, Mark. I know people will probably be looking at this in more detail, but I guess, can you walk us through the highlights? How did you and Zoya even meet? How did you connect?
Yeah, wow, what should I say? I would just say it's destiny, Tinka. It was just destiny because I could remember attending some sessions that was in the EMEA region, and I don't quite remember the session, but Zaya was responding to some persons in the chat, and she did mention that she was from Jamaica, and one of her points were brought on the stage because she was pretty much alluding to the power of value management in project management and PMO. And so from there, I said, I will definitely have to reach out to her because I mean she's from Jamaica and she was putting forward some very good points. And I believe when the summit ended that day, I reached out to her. I sent her a friend request on LinkedIn, and she accepted, and that's how we started. And just sharing a refreshing experience at the summit with me, and then the birth of the idea to share our experience in an article, and that's how we started.
That's really simple, I guess. So all we need to do is make use more of LinkedIn, right, and our social networks to actually connect with people.
Yes, it was very, I would say, I mean, it was a simple process for me. And as you know, my nickname here in the Caribbean is Reason with Mark. And it's Reason with Mark because of the kind of individual that I am. I am big on conversations, and not only just conversations, but flipping conversations from different angle, just talking about things, anything, whether it might be sports and project management. I also have a newsletter where I wrote I wrote something about project management in soccer.
Mhm. Oh, okay, that's
The other day when we had the World Cup, I actually wrote something in my newsletter about that as well. So I'm always having conversations. I'm always reasoning about something, and even in my professional role as a project manager, that's who I am. I'm always reasoning. I'm always having conversation with team members. So I would say it was very easy to put this together with Zaya, and even this episode here, Books and Beyond. I think it was very easy putting this together. Yeah,
okay. Well, that's cool, and I think I think that you the fact that you decided to to just write a few words about your experience from an organizer point of view. I think we all reasoned with you, we all from the organizing team. So that article was really very positively received. So we're looking forward. Are you going to be now our writer after each conference? That raises expectations. But yeah, I think more should be more should be following your suit in general after these kind of events. As you mentioned in that article, that it's always good for connecting with other people, to go to these kind of events, to attend conferences and workshops, and had that opportunity to network and really take in what others experience is. But the fact that you actually put it in words, I think it brings even more value, because it lives longer, and it's easier to just to expose and to spread and to disseminate amongst the community. So
Definitely.
I'm very happy with the article. I keep on talking about it, but I'll just let people kind of take it in and read it. And if you have any questions,
Thank you so much, Tinka.
Mark is waiting. I hear that there are some opening guest spots in Jamaica. Yeah, if you need to ask him a question, you have to do it in person. You have to go to Jamaica to do that. So, no pressure, Mark. But you mentioned now. You
Okay,
mentioned
okay, okay. Well noted.
we can now move on to, because I think we should reason with you. For this episode, and we're doing it a bit sideways, because we said that the episode will be calling "From Order to Chaos," which is kind of intriguing. And we're curious to know what we want to say here. One thing that I did see about you, I think you had one of your former collaborators, maybe, or clients. I snooped on your LinkedIn profile. They said, talk with Mark and discover your spark. I really like that. And I know I'm biased because I know you, but I think that's very much you. So that's a very nice thing somebody said about you. But you are project managing in a multicultural region, and you have
Yes.
to, what is it, 19 plus
Y-
islands?
Yeah. So it's 19 plus countries and 43 sister islands. Because how these countries are, for example, I'm in Trinidad right now, and in Trinidad is like Trinidad and Tobago. So Tobago is like a twin island. They're like a twin island. So it's Trinidad and Tobago. So it's like Trinidad is the mainland. So most people would say Trinidad, but it's Trinidad and Tobago. So that's two,
That's two.
And like for example for example the Cayman Islands. You have Grand Cayman. So most persons know about Grand Cayman, but you have Little Cayman and you have another. So it's like three islands, 3 or 4 islands, I believe. So for me, it's like 19 countries, but 43 like associated islands around those countries.
So what's your secret there? Do you have 43 copies of Mark? How do you do that? Are there
Yeah,
Marks out there?
yeah, very good question. Yeah, that's a very good question, Tinker. So what happened a couple of years ago, most persons don't know, but I was in the hospital because my right arm, was almost amputated, and so I developed many skills in this process because I was actually in the hospital like for 6 months, and it took over 5 years to be fully recovered. And yeah, I developed some skills here while I was in the hospital. So one of the skills that I developed was I that kind of ambidextrous mindset, because you almost lose an arm, so it means that the other arm becomes the dominant one. So pretty much you become ambidextrous. And so even my mind and how I do things become that way as well. You know, and so I in terms of like communication, like facilitation, all these skills, I had to develop these skills in the process, because if I didn't, myself and the doctors, we wouldn't be able to put the pieces together in order to give me a steady recovery, you know. And yeah, that's how it started. And so actually, I got this opportunity while I was on the hospital bed, and that's where I started to travel the region. I started to travel the region, and I think it was, I mean, I think it came naturally for me to like go into countries and to adapt to different cultures, and that's because of the whole, my personality to talk with persons, to understand them, to adapt to them, the different stakeholders, in terms of communication, learn the words or the slang in the culture that makes people smile, these kind of things. This go far away, and so I would say it was just these skills that I developed while I was in the hospital, that allowed me to be very adaptive, traveling to this region, adapting to different culture. So I think when the skill to adapt to different culture is to be open-minded, to listen, you know, to understand what makes your different stakeholders tick. There are different things, and to learn some words from the culture. Sometimes, even good morning, thank you, because in the Caribbean, we have different regions. So you have like the French region, they speak French. You have like the Dutch region, they speak Dutch. And you have the Caribbean, which is like the independent British territories. And you have the not so the British territories like the Cayman Islands, that are still owned by the British. So yeah, it's just different cultures, different ways of doing things, and you just have to adapt.
That's interesting. So they have so basically you started your project management career after the unfortunate experience. Would that be correct, or did you were you doing that before?
Can you please repeat, Tinka?
Yeah. I was asking if you started your project management consultancy career after the unfortunate event with your hand, or was it something that you were doing before?
Yeah, so my my consultancy, I actually started that in COVID, but I mean, management, just working as a consultant for other companies, headcount at times. I was doing that from 2007.
How was that raises a even I guess more intriguing question. How was initiating a new career such as consultancy during COVID and with 43 islands? That
Yeah,
sounds very challenging.
yeah. So
What were the projects, I
as I
guess?
said, I'm always reasoning. Pardon me?
Go ahead. I think we just have a slight delay in the signal. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's yeah, it was, the COVID was a difficult period where a lot of persons, they had to readjust to the digital ecosystem and all of that, because most of us were not, we had to follow the protocols, which means that most of us were pretty much at home with families. I think for me, it was a little bit easier because I was always networking before, you know, so I had a presence in the digital space, you know. So in this period, there were persons reaching out for me to support them, and project management. For me, I think I have a way with project management where I make project management simple. So even the person who doesn't really, because I think project management a lot of times can come across very sophisticated for enterprises and businesses. And that's the reason why a lot of times they don't have their own project department or their own project managers, because maybe they don't know how to fit that within their structure. So what I do, I just make project management very simple for them. So say if it is that they are working on an initiative, and they want to hire someone and they don't know how to do it. So I would use project management to help them to hire the person that fits the culture and fits their strategy and what is it that they're trying to do. And when I do that, they will be in awe because they didn't realize that project management can actually structure this aspect of what is it that they need to deliver. Or say there's a digital transformation project. I worked on a project with this local hospital in Jamaica, right? And they were rolling out a new system, because remember COVID, and they wanted to cater for a new customer experience. So, initially we couldn't meet physically, but I realized like they wanted a voice of the customer. And I was just a voice of the customer. I mean, someone who can listen to the customer and translate what the customer was saying back to the company,
Mm-hmm.
and then what the company was saying back to the customer. Create that kind of environment, like a product owner, working with like Scrum teams, putting all that together, doing the reporting, the communication, the stakeholder management plan, stakeholder. So all this thing. So I was also doing that, and I make that very simple for them. So they didn't know what is it that they wanted, but they probably know that they wanted someone to represent them in front of the client. But after working with them, they realized the power of project management. So that's how I was just pretty much working over the COVID period. And and to answer your question again, for me in that period it was easier because I was networking before, so I knew a lot of persons out in the Caribbean, in other Caribbean territories, and outside of the Caribbean as well, because I do a lot of work, as you know, Tinka. You're from Romania and you're living in Canada right now. We've never met before, but we're great friends. So it was things like this. So it was easier for me to leverage to support and to share my experience in this regard.
Well, that's pretty cool. And also, it's pretty cool the fact that it seems you're using, sometimes you're using project management as more as a tool, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
In all of this. And I guess you're right. Sometimes I see in my experience too, sometimes people just need someone to, hit their thoughts with or brainstorm to figure out what you actually want to do. Sometimes you just need that, and you seem to be that person, which is great because yeah, you're just guiding them through what, making things that seem complicated just be simple. And that's I think that's a human problem. We tend to like complicating things a lot.
Yes,
uh, so sometimes it's nice to just have somebody come in and help us see the simplicity behind what what we did there. And that's pretty cool.
yes, definitely. So it's just pretty much I put reasoning with Mark in
Hmm.
everything I do because yeah, so it's that pretty much. So as you said, project management can be seen as a sophisticated role or a sophisticated profession, and I just make it very simple, just talking and having conversation and reasoning and executing in such a way that people can it's relatable to the project, and it's relatable to the project champions, the project sponsors, you know.
What are the takeaways? I guess the not the takeaways, the differences that change your, I guess, approach between all these regions. I'm assuming that there might be, other than the language difference. Are there any other differences in
Yeah,
terms of set and
yeah. So one of the thing I realize is culture. Yeah, I mean cultural, like cul- I mean, culture inclusion, you know, is it's yeah, that's one of my cultural integration, and cultural inclusion, or I would say a key takeaway for me, because it doesn't matter how competent you are. It doesn't matter the toolkit that you have. It doesn't matter the support that you're getting from project champions or sponsors. You need to have a way how to integrate or to be included in the culture of that particular country, you know, because the culture will will have some kind of influence on your project, the way how you deal with the persons, you know, your local team, you know, they have a way of doing things, and you need to understand their mindset. You need to understand, you know, what are they comfortable with. You know, you need to have, even when you're motivating them, you know, sometimes you need to know, as I said before, some local words or greeting words, or you need to know some things to for example, your team building activities, to include in your team building activities, you know, for them to build that trust between yourself, you know, and them. And also you might be working with virtual teams too, you know. So I believe like cultural integration and cultural inclusion is a key takeaway for me. And then I also realized that even when you're not traveling to a country, every project has its own culture too. And especially when you have different persons coming together, you know, sometimes you have to take something from everyone to a culture, so that eventually the teams can be coordinating and working in unison. You understand, for the greater success of the project. So I, you know, and a lot of times we don't even realize that project has its culture too. And every person that is in that project, they come from a different background. So you can take something from them to build that culture that will create a path for success.
that's a really interesting way of putting it. And I think most of us would resonate with that, even if we're dealing with different areas around the world. Projects now, majority of them are global, and sometimes I think we get hasty when it comes to that cultural understanding. um yeah, we just, I guess, depends where we come from. I would, for example, North America is so focused on business that
Yes,
sometimes, myself included, we forget our manners.
yes,
We just want things done. So then, our communication is geared in a certain way. And
great, yes.
sometimes, when the receiver is not from the same culture, they won't really, you won't get the message that you want, or the output that you're looking for. So I think that's a very interesting way of looking at it. The project has its own culture. That makes sense. What's your um, I guess I'm sure you have many successful projects, and do you have any, I guess, any that are really like dear to you, or that you're really fond of, that you want to share some of your lessons learned from?
Dear to me. Okay. There's this particular
Or
project.
they can be terrible projects. They can be terrible, but if you have some lessons learned that we think would be helpful.
Yeah. Um, so yeah. Okay. So I start with the first one. So I was doing this project in the British Virgin Islands, right? I was doing this project in the British Virgin Islands a couple of years ago. Why this project was special is that this was a restoration project, special assignment, because Hurricane Irma at the time it destroyed the entire island. So the entire island was flat. In that thinker. So the island was flat because of this Hurricane Irma, right? So we were tasked to rebuild the communication network for the island, because you're not a country is not able to operate without communication. Your cell phone and your financial transaction systems, all of that. So we were tasked to rebuild the communication network and system for the entire island. And yeah, it was really tough because when we got there, everything was flat, and we were lacking resources. And the thing about the British Virgin Islands too is like it's like you have Tartola, which is the main island, but you have like either 14 or 15 other islands that you have to deploy this communication network across. Because the BVI is like for the rich and famous. Some of these islands are, I think, Mr. Richard Branson, the owner of the Virgin, he owns one of those islands. So it was very challenging. So again, as I said, I mean, when we get there, we first we had to understand what is it that our client wanted, and what's the best way how to deliver this particular project based on what the client wanted. So from early we realized that we had to prioritize and we had to standardize. you know so because the entire island was flat, we realized that we had to be doing the project in phases. That was the best approach. Even though there were persons who were saying resources to do the project in one go, but that wasn't practical at the time, so we had to do the entire island in phases. So it was really, really yeah, so we took this approach, and yeah, we started doing this, and then we started to face a lot of challenges too, because it's expensive to deliver projects in the British Virgin Islands, and it's also difficult to enter some of these islands because these islands are like for the rich and famous, as I said. So the requirements are demanding. I give you an example. So there were cases where all of us, we work for an entity or an organization, and we have our own insurance. But to enter some of these islands and do anything, you had to have a separate insurance coverage at, I mean, with a certain value. And that's just separate and apart from the insurance that you have as an individual. So these were some of the stuff. And then why this project is so dear to me too is that I think this project we didn't get to finish this project. We had maybe like halfway, because the company that I was working with at the time, I won't say, there was a fallout between the companies, a multinational company and the US government, and we had to leave. We had to pause the project and we had to leave. But why this project was successful for me is that we actually delivered the KPI that the client wanted at the time. So even though we didn't finish the rest of the project, we actually delivered the KPI that they wanted. So even though we had to pause and hand over to the client, I think we did a very good job because we delivered the key performance indicator that the client wanted at the time. And we, I would say we pretty much put smiles on some key stakeholders in the country because we restored most of the island and we met the KPI and they were able to carry out businesses, and stuff like this.
Well, that's amazing, and I think sometimes we don't necessarily have to think of a successful project when we get to the end, right? It's the project
Yes.
has its own phases, and you said so that it was phased. So, whatever the company decided to do afterwards, that was, I think that's a separate. But the success of it, and I guess excuse me, I'm assuming you had a mammoth team with you for this project, a mammoth size team, or was it just a few of you?
Not no no no. So that's why it was so difficult because I wouldn't say there was a big team, and that's why we had to face, as I said before, we had to prioritize, standardize, and then phase the project. So whatever resources we had available, we had to maximize it in the best way possible. And one of the
Okay.
reasons for not having the required resources was that the requirements to enter the country, it was the requirements were strict.
And expensive.
Yeah, it was difficult to meet the requirements, to enter the country because some of the experts, they had to come from other regions, and the requirements, it was difficult to meet most or some of the traveling requirements to have those resources inland. And so we had to figure out a way under the pressure to deliver. And so we had to prioritize and standardize and deliver. And the standardization was to also create a project management culture, you know,
So you actually
given
had
the
to.
circumstances. We had to create a project management culture in order to deliver.
So not you didn't only have to rebuild the communication system, but you also had to teach others about project management. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. So the governance. So we had to start by, setting up our stakeholder management plan, our communication matrix, our communication plan, escalation plan, resource management plan, that kind of structure, that kind of governance, risk management plan, your lessons learned. Because, BVI this was a new situation. You can imagine we don't often see a country that is destroyed by a hurricane and we have to pretty much restore it. So we couldn't wait until the project is finished before we do our lessons learned. So we started to do the lessons learned from the inception, And so we use this to improve each other, to share knowledge and experiences with each other. And so this kind of governance was set up at the start, for us to deliver and execute effectively. I wouldn't say smoothly because most of the times things are never smooth in our project, but effectively where you have control and you can report to the client and you can manage the teams and you can motivate persons to continue to do a good job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is. I'm assuming that. I mean, I can only think of there might have been other such unfortunate events happening in maybe other islands or countries around the world. That I did that help? Did those events? I guess. Did you look at those events? Did you have the opportunity to see if they had any lessons learned to share that you can, I guess, borrow for this project? I know I may be
Yes,
speaking.
funny enough, I didn't have any. Yes, funny enough, I didn't have any previous lessons learned document. So I everything we had to do from scratch with that British Virgin Islands project, restoration project.
Okay, well, hopefully,
And that's why we took the approach from the inception.
hopefully they whoever took over the standardization that you guys put together. Hopefully, they continued on that path and didn't do things differently.
Yes. So that's the power of a PMO, whatever you delivered and whatever you created, you transition that or share that with your PMO, the existing PMO within the business, and so for future projects, they will have like a blueprint of how to do certain things in certain situations. So that's the power of a PMO as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Well, did the company that hired you, the client, did they have a PMO that you had to work with, or all the project management expertise was coming from you and your team?
Well, they had a PMO.
They had a PMO. Hmm.
And so my role was working collaboratively with the PMO day to day, the reporting, even the delivery processes, because you're delivering different things and there's a process to do different things through the communication matrix. So all of that was aligned with their PMO
Correct.
and their management structure.
But it seems they were doing a poor job in having standardization plans in place. Their PMO,
Yeah,
or they weren't unprepared.
I think because the situation was new, so
Yeah.
nobody's, yeah. Nobody has, yeah. It was a new situation to everyone. So of course you will have some amount of chaos.
Is there anything that you would, if you look back, is there anything that you would do differently with that project? I'm sure you look back many times because it's dear to you. But is there anything that, you just kind of like, I wish I would have done it differently?
Yeah, I would say early inclusion of certain stakeholders. That's one. Looking back, I would say early inclusion of certain stakeholders, because a lot of businesses, enterprises, or organizations, they have a habit of, maybe, for example, this is just one example, hiring a project manager after they have done certain things. So maybe they hire the project manager just before the execution. Sometimes that's not good enough.
Hmm.
Maybe hiring the project manager at the inception stage when you're actually building out your charter, or when you have signed off the contract, at this early stage. That will help the team, to do better brainstorming and to do better planning and to do more effective communication and stakeholder management. You understand what I mean? Because a lot of times, like when you have
Yeah.
like scope creep, I believe it's because certain stakeholders are not included at the right time. So
That is,
by the
if they
time you
are
include certain
included.
persons, it's too late.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's too late. Yeah, it's too late.
it
So
is sad.
that I would see is a lesson. And I mean, I would also say again, you know, relationship management, you know, that is very important too. So you're in a new situation. You're in a situation that is new to everyone. So as I say again, I mean, critical listening, trying to understand what happened, what is happening, and try to understand the different persons and their expectations, the culture, how to do certain things if you're hiring contractors, or how to motivate or inspire different, persons who are in the team you know, that are background, all of these things to build really effective relationship so that you're able to, in a sustainable way, to commit to the client and to deliver on your milestones. Because sometimes you might have competent persons in your team and you're not able to keep that team for the entire duration because the relationship is bad. So maybe that particular engineer don't probably want to be on board. Maybe they say to their line manager, after 3 months, I want to, after their tenure has been up, maybe they say they want to go to another project within the organization, and so you will have to accommodate someone new. But if you build a very good relationship, maybe that person enjoys the project and wants to be a part of it from the start to the end. And so you have a sustainable, you have sustainable momentum, sustainable synergy, sustainable relationship that will help your project.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think that's a must for a project manager. I think as a project managers, we have to ensure that the team that is liking their project. they and they can only understand how
Yes,
cool
yes,
the
very,
project
very
is
important. Yeah. That's
if
also one of your KPIs.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a very good takeaway. But I'm sure you did that masterfully. I think it's as you said, maybe the fact that some of you were probably included maybe a bit later than you should have, then that's something just for others to keep in mind when they put together these kind of projects, to make sure that. And I can tell you the same from my own experience in healthcare, that sometimes project managers are assigned on a project once the budget is already made, the timelines are made, and then you're just ended up there and you're like,
A
so what do I
gatekeeper, like a gatekeeper. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so then you have to commit to
A
something that,
gatekeeper, pretty much.
yeah, you didn't put together, or you didn't give any input over.
Yes.
And then it's too late, because even if you do have a justified opinion about this is doable or not, you can always hear back the fact that yes, but these were decided, so you're put in a very delicate situation. So I
Yes.
think that's very, very true. um yeah, what you have a lot of projects ongoing, though, outside of the project consultancy. You're very active on LinkedIn, you have newsletters, and now you have the most recent one, I think, if I'm not
Like
mistaken,
we
is,
see it.
yeah, like you see it. What is the essence of like you see it? I mean, the title says it all, but
Yeah.
what do you
So like we see it, you know, there are a lot of regions in the world that I think are, I would say, immature when it comes on to project management. They know about project management, but they don't really practice project management or utilize project management to make the region or to make the society better. So, for example, the Caribbean, we're small territories. Because in the Caribbean, I think the Caribbean and Central America, we have maybe like 32 plus countries, and I think the population is like 32 plus million. I'm sure in Canada, in your state, you have more people in one state than the entire Caribbean, right?
I would hope so. Although Canada is a big country with few people, so I wouldn't bet on it. But I get your point, though.
Yeah, so like we see it, yeah, so because I was fortunate enough to work for these multinational companies and have these multinational connections, and influences, I say, why not do something like we see it? And why not do it across regions who aspire to become better in project management? And so I am a co-founder. So Sylvie Dan, she's also an ambassador for the PMO leader community as well. And she did a presentation in French. I don't know if you remember at the summit last year. And
Yeah.
so she's one of the top influencers in business analysis and project management in the Africa, in the continent of Africa. And so we brought our minds together and we just started like we see it. And so like we see it is pretty much to share tips and insights, perspectives across the Caribbean, Africa, smaller regions who are not so mature in the area of project management. Help them to have an appreciation of project management, or give them a better avenue to relate to project management through nuggets that we will be sharing.
This is a very, very cool project. And this is, from what I see here, so is it just for the Americas and Africa, or did you expand into Europe and Asia and all other? Is it global?
Yes, it's global. Yeah, it's for the global community. But I mean, of course, when we started out, we were looking at our regions first. You understand the issues that we're having in our regions, but of course, it's for the global community.
So basically, you're using this platform. Let me see if I get the gist. You're using this platform as somewhat of a lessons learned tool. Is that
Yes,
is that
yes,
what it
yes,
is?
yes, yes.
That is a
So
very
say
cool.
for example, yeah. So say for example, football. You have a coach, and he wants some tips on how to communicate with his football players.
Mhm.
Maybe we're not the expert in football, but when he comes to the platform, he might see a nugget, or he might get some lessons that will tell him that, hey, when you're managing co-location team and virtual teams, you need to manage those teams differently. So for example, a virtual team, those persons you have never seen before, there's a particular way how to manage it. Generally, you have to be authentic. You have to, because you're not seeing those persons in your teams in person. You have to manage them in a different way. You have to use certain tools. Things like that.
Yeah, that is and how do you how is it? Wait, when was it launched, and how is it coming along so far?
Yeah, so it was launched last year in December. I think it was in the middle of December. And yeah, we have been sharing nuggets. We have been sharing nuggets on the page on LinkedIn. And it's great. Persons are actually loving it because a lot of the nuggets are resonating with persons. And why we do nuggets right now, it's because it's digestible. Because when you're teaching someone something new, you have to give them something that is relatable and digestible. And that's why we do it in this format.
So
Eventually,
it's
of
just,
course, pardon me.
sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, eventually we will have, like we see it, shows, of course. But the idea was just to start off, sharing insights that are digestible and relatable, because you're teaching persons something new or something that they are curious about, but they want to learn. So how to do that? You have to make it digestible and relatable.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, no, that I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's somehow in a conjunction with your style, right? Trying to make project management simple because it should be
Yes,
simple. Then
yes,
giving
yes.
simple nuggets might help. So is it just you and Sylvie contributing at this time, or do you have people, other people sharing their nuggets? I guess.
Yes, so right now, yeah, we would like to have other persons on board who have something to say. We're open to that as well. So, for example, yourself, Tinker, you're one in 2023 that has gotten the first you're in the first batch, to be invited to say something unlike we see it, you know.
I'm happy to do so.
Yes,
I'm
definitely.
happy to do so. Thank you for that. I look forward to it. And I
Yes.
encourage. I put the link in the chat here for people who will be watching the recording. But you'll find it on LinkedIn if you follow Mark. Mark's profile. You'll see it pops right there in the results. So um, yeah, go ahead and follow this. I think we need more. As technology advances and virtual takes over, our in-person connections. I think all of these great virtual ways of lessons learned and just networking with each other are really, really useful to kind of help us in our day-to-day, not just career but also personal. So yeah, I think it's a really another cool initiative. You're full of them. I can wait to hear what's in plan for 2023. What's happening in 2023, Mark?
2023, as I told you, I'm on a new assignment in Trinidad and Tobago. This is this is a great opportunity because it's a new domain. It's a domain that is new to me. You know, of course, project management is transferable, of course, to any industry, but it's a new industry to me. And the initiative that I'm a part of now, I can see where it will have a greater impact on the Caribbean society and culture. The domain and the industry. So I would say that's one, the project that I'm a part of right now, and continue to promote and continue to have great minds on like we see it.
And also, you're not leaving us
And
as
in
CMO,
terms,
right? We need you.
right now, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that right now. Yeah, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that right now. And in terms of Econa Projects, which is my consultancy, just continue to bring more awareness to what I do and how is it that I can help micro, small, and medium-sized business to deliver projects and programs with confidence, especially in this digital age that we're in. Because we're all used to delivering projects with persons in front of us, and now a lot of projects are being delivered um, through tools, through technology, and so a certain skill, a certain expertise is required to do so. So, for example, PMO, you know, we're now seeing a lot of organization they're going agile, and it's not only to go agile, but also to align the new agile strategy that you're developing with the legacy structure of your company so that agile becomes a part of your PMO so you can be agile for the next 5 to 10 years, just things like this.
Yeah, I guess that's an ongoing process. Are you
Process, yes.
focusing? Is Econo focused on certain industries in consulting project management, or is it wide open to any? I guess any specs. It's like
Yeah, so
in
it's
or
yeah.
healthcare.
Yeah, we're open to any specs, because as I said before, project management is transferable. Because
Yeah,
most times you go into companies, they already have their experts. It's just to put the pieces together and make the project successful.
that's that's really neat, and I think you have a lot of interesting plans for 2023. And yeah, this thank you for sitting down with us, even if you're in that lovely place there. And you could have done other things. We really appreciate you
Pleasure
took
is
this
always mine.
to really talk about your experience and share with us your views and your plans for 2023. Hopefully, um, maybe your project in Trinidad, you can, who knows, maybe you'll start writing a blog about how you see it, because it's a new experience. That could be an interesting way of keeping people up to date as to what's happening with you up there or down there. Wait, I'm up. You're down.
Yeah. I think it's south. It's south. So you would you what would we say? Down, right? Because it's south. It's south of Jamaica.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you would be down from Canada, so that's why.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, this was a really good discussion, Mark. Thank you. We're looking forward to hearing more about your experience in your current project, and also seeing you at your next webinars on the digital transformation stage. I'm sure you have a great schedule lining up for 2023 as well.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
Let me put some links here for people who will be watching the recording. So we have, under the PMO leader, this is the link that will take you to, this is the Books and Beyond webinar. However, on the same page, you find the links to all of our other webinars. And then we also have this LinkedIn post, which is useful for our upcoming events. Obviously, our team is really, really active when it comes to social media and promoting upcoming webinars. So, not to worry, you won't miss it as long as you're following the PMO leader. You'll be there. And one last one
Definitely.
before I let you go. This here we have, so for 2023, PMO leader has a bunch of volunteering positions open, and each of them is very insightful in its own way. So check the link, check the roles out there, and each of them has a very brief application form. But yeah, I mean, Mark and I are just examples of people who are part of this community for more than a year, and we love it. And look at us, we're still here smiling, um, and we want more of it, and we just want to bring more of you in, because it's so good to be here. Nobody's making us. So you have access to so many cool resources, and just discussions like the one today you wouldn't otherwise get to, and these are very helpful for our day-to-day jobs, and lives in general. So, and you have the opportunity to meet great people like Mark. So, um, with that being said, the recording will be available shortly after. You'll get it. You'll snatch it from YouTube, from LinkedIn. So, not to worry about that. And we will see you. Our next episode is in February. You will find it on LinkedIn. We have a special guest. All of our guests are special and unique in their own ways. So stay tuned for that one. Mark, it was awesome to have you today. I really feel the spark after talking to you. Hopefully, you had a fun discussion too, and hope you'll have a great time in Trinidad. And let's keep in touch. We want to know about your progress.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here anytime,
We'll do so. We have so many more opportunities.
Tinka. And you told me earlier that you're going to add a trademark or a copyright to that moniker, Tinka. So I think you should do it for 2023.
I will. I will. We can start now. From now on, I will just refer myself as Thinka in within the PMO leader space, and then we'll copyright it.
Yes,
Fine.
yes, yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. You enjoy the rest of your
Yes,
day.
yes, definitely. I want the whole world to know you as Tinker.
How more public can I be than on LinkedIn? Maybe I should get a tattoo. Yeah. Thank you, Mark. This was really great. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm sure you will,
Same,
with
same,
that behind you. And
same,
have fun with
same to
your
you.
project.
Yeah, Tinker. Thank you. Have a great one.
You too. And bye, everybody. See you in February in episode number 12. Bye bye.